So we've seen the report. FCCPC, which is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, had issued a 1 month notice to traders and other market stakeholders involved in exploitative pricing to crash pricing of goods, and then he was addressing the fact that some of these traders, are increasing their price unreasonably without, any, and of course we know that we've had that back and forth where price kept increasing, and most of the stories and the what we get from the traders are the fact that fuel price has gone up and transportation cost, but now the FCCPC are coming out to say that it looks like some of these traders are taking advantage of what is going on, the whole transportation thing to double up. And I think they also gave an example of a particular product that was way cheaper abroad, and when brought to Nigeria they saw that the price was almost like ×4 the actual price, which wasn't really matching up. But I mean, let's just still come down to looking at this 1 month period that was given to traders to make sure they crashed the price. Do we see this as a step in the right direction? I mean, we also heard the economist in the report states that he doesn't see it as a good decision at this time, but I would also love to have our views on it. Do you see this decision that was taken, do you see it being the right step?
Well, thanks for having me once again.
Yes.
And then it's a wishful thinking. Yeah, we just have to be realistic, because it's okay, you can come out there and make pronouncements, but I have problem with a situation where those who come preaching equity come with filthy hands. Yeah, you can't, because if you must come preaching equity, you must come with clean hands. So if you give a month timeline for people to
crash their price.
Let me take you to between May 2023 and maybe February 2024. Can you count how many times the fluctuation in Naira dollar issue and all that? So what we are saying is that the instability was so much that companies were unable to plan. So if you got something at, for instance, $2 and you wanted to sell, before you knew, it had got the Naira exchange to dollar exchange rate had gotten to like about 10. So how do you reconcile? That's one. Then number two, that also serves as self-indictment to begin to compare what was being produced in the United States and the shelf price in Nigeria. In the first place, why did that store have to source it from the United States? Why didn't the government put the enabling environment for that same product to be manufactured, produced here, and create jobs for teaching graduates? So we have issues. Then that is number two, being self-indictment on its own. Then look at from Apapa Port down to like Ikeja. Can you count how many checking points? Extortion platforms, from people who genuinely had budgeted like, let's say, 200,000 naira to move their waste, and because they had to bribe this, bribe that, bribe this, and they ended up spending close to 1 million naira for no reason, for no justification.
And that will definitely reflect on the price.
So that's why I said the pronouncement on its own is not a bad idea, but those who preach equity should not do that with filthy hands. They are heavily soiled. There is no moral justification when the president, as of May 29th, as of May 29th, 2003, 8 a.m. Many filling stations had millions of liters of fuel, PMS, purchased less than 165 naira per liter. Immediately the president made that pronouncement that subsidy was gone, they jacked it up at night and started selling at about 600. That's the no moment. And some even stopped selling. So where was, okay, that's why I say, look, you can't deal with issues from one angle. We have this Price Control Act of 1977 in place, and in 2004 we also have Price Control Board. You understand? So we've always had them there. Then we also have a Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act in existence. So what we are saying is that what have they been doing? Even what they provide, ought to provide for the people, is missing. Now you have someone who has gone through the thick and saying the fire to put something there, and no one has ever asked, you existed. How did you come to produce this? You understand? You brought this from abroad, something you should produce here. What has it cost you? You understand? So who preach equity must do that with clean hands.
All right, let's have Mr. Steve on this.
Good afternoon once again. I want to say that my brother seemed to have laid it down very, very well. It's rather unfortunate. And you know, before we came into the studio, we were discussing a particular issue of communications where text messages are not going on very well and all those things. And I told him, I said, look, just some years back, these text messages were going on well and everybody was happy about it. But all of a sudden, and he said, so what happened? I said, because people who are paid to do their job went to sleep. And because people who are paid to do their job went to sleep, the whole thing scattered. Those people who are paid to do the job, they were being paid to supervise the various telecommunication firms and make sure that things are going on well. But the moment they went to sleep, everything scattered. And then you will find, you just wake up one morning, then they will come and tell this telecommunication firms, if you don't get this thing in the next 24 hours, we will deal with you. How are you going to deal with them when you've not been doing your job all this while? This Price Regulatory Board and all those other boards that he has quoted up, they have been in existence long ago. They have never thought it wise to even have a one-on-one meeting with either the manufacturing industries or with the distributors and dealers, not to talk of the traders in the market. You just wake up one morning because you realize that, look, oh, maybe the thing, your family members are being hurt. You are now going to the market and you cannot buy the thing the way you want it. So right now it's time to act. And you are coming to give traders 1 month. 1 month to do what? Are they the ones manufacturing the product? They are just about like the end users or the end distributors. Now, if you say that they should correct back the pricing, what about the shortfall? Is the government going to compensate them for the shortfall of bringing down the prices of the commodities? I'm not even talking about the manufacturers yet. Because these traders are paying a lot. They are paying a lot to their shops, to keep their shops. They are paying security. We don't have security, so they are paying security. Some of them are even have to pay area boys just to secure their shops. And at the end of the day, where do you expect them to get the money from? It's still from these same goods that they sell. So if you bring a product of 150 naira, 10 naira will not cover these expenses that we are talking about. Some of them will even have to buy fuel and put inside generator to make sure that the fridges and the freezers are cooled. So 10 naira will not do it. 20 naira will not do it because the cost of the petroleum itself is exorbitant. So they have to increase their price to maybe 200 of a good that is 150, or maybe 250 in order to meet up with all these small expenses. So if you're coming to tell them to shoot down to the normal price list, then you must be able to find a way of covering all these expenses, which is not what is presently obtainable. So if you look at it very well, if you want to run it down through the entire quarter, I'm sorry to say, Some people have not done their job in the past. So you cannot blame them for it. So if they want to correct things the way they are now, right now, they have to go back to the basics. And in going back to the basics, it will take time to be able to get to that level that we all anticipate or we want. But between now and then, a lot of work needs to be done.
Okay, so are we saying that we will probably not find traders, or marketers or whatso that are taking advantage of what is going on? Because I mean, there are sometimes you go to the market and you see some things, some items that you just know. Okay, for instance, some fruits, maybe like mango. I do know that there are some places where they bring in the mangoes for, but there are some places, there are some items you just know that this item was gotten from within, probably even from the person's backyard. And then the person still, hikes up the price and everywhere. So are we saying that we don't have people, that's just an example, but are we also saying we don't have traders in Nigeria that are taking advantage of this thing, and then all singing the same song of, everything is going high, transportation.
Let me give you one example. Please.
Okay,
give you one example. Have you bought roasted corn of late? Roasted corn. Have you bought it of late? What is the minimum price?
300, 400.
300, 400. Now, will you blame the woman selling it 300, 400?
I think most of the corn, they usually sit down to
yeah,
them.
but they
for some of them, yes, they are locally.
But would you blame it? When she goes to collect it from where she's collecting it, the bus driver or the taxi driver, if he normally collects 500 naira, he tells her, I'm collecting 1-2. She has to also beg somebody who normally collects 50 naira now before, who now collects 200 naira to bring it to the point of sale. The charcoal she used to buy at 50 naira is now almost 300 naira per small nylon. Not to talk of kerosene, which half a bottle is now between 600 to 800. Half a bottle, or not full bottle, that she will use. Talk about matches, which is now not that 10 naira again. It's now about 50 naira, 70 naira. So add up all these expenses together, and maybe it is just one bag that she bought for maybe about 4,000 naira. How does she raise the 4,000 naira if she doesn't increase the cost price of whatever small thing she has? Meanwhile, she's doing it so that also she and her family will survive. Are you getting where I'm going? So, yes, there are some traders that are exploiting the means. But true to it, the reality surrounding virtually everything is that the cost of everything has gone up. And if government wants to address it, it has to address it holistically. It's not something you will just pick a particular area and try to punch down. It will not work.
Okay, yes.
Are you aware, as we sit here in the studio, that fuel scarcity, the scourge of fuel scarcity, has virtually become the norm? No one, you've lost even the energy to report the suffering that people go through, to source for fuel. The energy is the life wire of everything. Now, you complain maybe of someone planting maize at his or backyard, coming out to sell it at exorbitant price. Would you suggest he or she sell to you at 50 naira, then go back to buy gari at then 1,000 naira? Where will she get the money? Did you get that? Or do we need to open economics class and begin to run through all this? Look, it has become dog eat dog society. In the confusion and in almost a situation of disarray, we had a situation where a brand new jet was launched, where Maybach Mercedes-Benz was changed to Escalade, You understand? The woman selling gari is seeing all that. The man selling, by the roadside, who's been crying how to survive, to pay school fees. They are seeing all that. So, for you to be able to convince me that, look, you must do the right thing, then I need to see it in you, the way you communicate. You understand? The body language. We all read how some civil servants chose to resume at Federal Secretariat and before 8 a.m. when President Muhammadu Buhari just assumed office. Thinking, oh, this will be business as usual. Then we saw that everything went back to the vicious normal after about like few weeks and all that. So what we are saying is that the way leadership communicates, the body language matters a lot. So the woman, to answer your question directly,
yes,
the woman right there who has that land won't plant his or banana. She won't plant a banana harvest to sell to you at 50 naira, only for her to buy gari at 1,000 naira. It won't happen until the government shows empathy and begin to be sensitive, to the plight of downtrodden. Are you aware that Naira can't buy anything in this economy?
Of course, even 50 naira has
that very few infants now have access to nutritious beverages. Are you aware that even school age children, most of them, the parents can't afford to give them raw protein from eggs? So that's what we are saying. So I planted my cucumber. That I planted it, I can't sell it to you at 50 naira because the other man will sell eggs to me for that same 50 naira.
Okay. So from the CBN, about 74.2% of respondents to the inflation expectation survey conducted by the Statistics Department of the CBN believe that the Apex Bank should have reduced the interest rate in July. And this is in contrast to 12.4% who thought that the interest rate should be raised, while 13.4% preferred that the rate remain unchanged. And the survey results, was released by the CBN recently on its website. It's still on the hike, we've spoken about. But I would just love to react to this development before we go to our next topic.
The CBN.
Yes.
We were here some times ago to discuss this. And
inflation is still high, so you still keep talking about it.
Look at what my colleague just said, and he enumerated the non-state actors that have continued to bleed citizens, directly or some are even employed by state actors to milk innocent citizens. You understand? Because I believe very well that no policeman, and let me give you, between Shagam and Benin through Oren, you know how many checking points you have there. So what we are saying here is that it's like you go to Seme border, try to come in through my two, you will see. Then go to Idiroko, try to come through Songwater, you will see them. They are not there on their own. Some people have just deliberately allowed them to do what they like, getting kickbacks. If not, why can't a police commissioner or IG disguise and go see for him or herself at the counter?
I also feel like there should have been numerous complaints about it that probably should have gotten to him even without him.
Now, come back to the inflation. We spoke here about Japan's interest rate being less than 0.05. Now, that is an economy that has 24/7 electricity, or one of the fastest rail systems in the world, and good road network, and relatively peaceful. Now, juxtapose that to where those do not exist, still jacking up interest rate. It's like they don't want people to survive. because you have to pay for your own security, provide your own water and energy, and still go to the bank, borrow to employ labor for your business, trying to help government out of to minimize insecurity by bringing unemployed youth, but you are still being asked to pay 24 something interest rates. Then it's like we are not serious here.
Okay, do we see us getting to an end in all of this? Or let me put it this way, do we see us getting to a light at the end of this tunnel we are in right now?
In this present state of confusion, in this present state of confusion, to tell you the truth, we will continue to wallow in darkness till their kingdom come.
That sounds like a prayer.
No, it's not a prayer. We have the capacity to, if we want to. My little knowledge of comparing Nigeria as a nation with other nations of the world, including America, is that, look, if America has, and I'm serious, you can go ask any serious economist, geographer, geophysicist, or any person that is vast in terms of knowledge of all what I'm trying to put together now. If the United States of America has half of the resources, minerals and human capital, if they have half of what Nigeria has, a fly will not touch America. And I'm damn serious about it. If you go to America today, you will know how many Nigerians that are controlling the American economy. You will ask yourself, how come? As I'm talking to you now, there is a Nigerian who is serving in the present government of Joe Biden as the Assistant Minister of Finance, that's Minister of State for Finance. If you go to Britain, the same thing. If not to talk about other small this, we have the capacity. But do you know the problem? Just like he was trying to enumerate. If the body language of the leadership at the top is not pro-development, then there is nothing anybody can do about the situation. Is that bad? When Buhari came in, me and him we were discussing, and I was like, bros, you remember that time? I was like, bros, I like this idea, but I would have preferred to hold my support for him until I see the steps. I am not really interested in the body language. I want to see the steps. And he was saying, no, the body language was positive. I was in his office when Buhari went in. 3 weeks later, he said, you can see civil servants are going into the office as early as 9 o'clock. And I told him, I said, give this government 6 months. If after 6 months, civil servants are still going to offices at 8 o'clock, we will smile. We will know that things are happening. We didn't hit 6 months when we started seeing civil servants coming to office at 11, to close at 2, and never to come back for the whole day. And government is paying. The issue of interest rate, if government have crashed down this interest rate to a level where Nigerians can be able to borrow money and do business and all those things like that, we would have gone somewhere. Can you imagine Nollywood in its present state? On its own, raking in close to $10 billion in a yearly level. And it was just built by private individuals, and the government is making nothing because the government didn't have investment. What about the area of sports, where young Nigerians are making huge money, but because the government has not invested, the country cannot reap anything? It's not the same. Nigerians flock to viewing centers all over the place, including myself, to watch Premier League. Do you know how much the British government gets as tax from the Premier League board?
All right.
Nigerians can achieve all these things, but we need to have a leadership that will be able to drive on that point. If we don't, we can't. That's the truth.
All right, our eyes are still on the government, and we are hoping that, we'll keep hoping. I mean, we just have to keep our hopes alive that things will get better and get easier for everyone.